Well, good morning, Chelsea. Chelsea Brinkley is joining me today, and from what I hear, and people tell me that you are a expert on time management and standard operating procedures, and just keeping your business life organized. So, I want to thank Chelsea for joining us today, and we're going to go a little bit over some questions about time management for entrepreneurs and small business. So. Before we start, Chelsea, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your journey, how you got to where you are today?
Of course. So today I help small business owners and entrepreneurs create more organized and efficient businesses. So I started out as the executive assistant to the chief digital officer at a multi-million dollar company outside of Nashville, Tennessee. I wanted to work remotely, so I shifted. It's not something that they allowed. And so I stepped out on my own and started to do my own thing and realized I had a knack for creating organization and efficiency. I was doing that for the chief digital officer of a company, and I started to do it just for other entrepreneurs and small business owners. And so what started out me going freelance turned into this full business that we run right now.
Awesome. I think everybody who's ever been in a leadership position or operated, operated their own business needs a Chelsea Brinkley in their life. So,
That's very kind.
yes, yes. So I'm glad you're providing that service. And at the end of this session, we can give you an opportunity to tell people how to get a hold of you if they need to, and get a hold of some of your products and services. So, well, anyway, so we're talking with small business owners. We're helping them get organized through the Circles of Seven program. The first topic that they discuss, or one of the topics they discuss, are time management for small businesses. So now I've read, and I read a lot, where time management isn't really about um, time, but by prioritizing tasks versus not having enough time. So because we all have the same amount of time every day, right? 24 hours. So when working with your clients or even a small business owner as like yourself, what are just the basics of managing time and prioritizing your tasks?
Yeah, so you're totally right about this. We all have the same 24 hours in a day. And all of us could really say at the end of the day, "Ah, we just didn't end up having enough time in our day," right? Like we can all say that. I think it comes down to defining what your scorecard really is and
Right?
what your priorities are that take up the time in your day, because we can fill it with a whole bunch of stuff, right? And I feel like the world asks a lot of us, and we're supposed to be here. We got to do this perfectly. We got to run over here. And if you're not running a triathlon and you need to, like there's so much that you're told you need to do and accomplish to be successful and stuff. But if we don't know what our own scorecard is and what our own priorities are, it doesn't matter what we fill our days with. So, you can't manage your time if you don't know what your priorities even are and what needs to be added into your daily schedule. So I like to have like what I call as a scorecard. So what are my priorities to me in my life, which can be different in different seasons too, of course. Um, so what are those priorities that need to fill my day? And everything else can go. It really can. Define what your scorecard is for you in the season of life that you're in, and have the priorities and what fills your day be the things that are on that scorecard. So is it time with family? Is it work? Is it this hobby that you're really interested in, or along those
Yeah, but my phone keeps dinging. My spouse, my wife, my daughter, my son, my uncle, my friend want to know what I'm doing. I mean, how do
lines?
you
It's true.
avoid that kind of thing?
How do you manage that? Good point. I so what I have done, because I got to that point too, where I just like have it, my phone looks like it has chicken pox. It's like all the red notifications, right? So what I have done is I've gone into the settings. I truly did this, and I removed those notification badges. They're gone, because for me, and this is me, this doesn't happen to everybody, but it stresses me out to see those notifications constantly like pop up. It could be for different apps. It could be showing the unread number of emails. Oh golly, like that stresses me out. And seeing the unread like text messages. So I turn off every single notification on my phone. That has really helped a lot take down stress level when you don't see all those red notification dots.
Yeah.
So turning off the notifications is really helpful. And I have just personally, I have a lot of unread text messages. And I have just come to the conclusion of I will get to them when I get to them, but I don't want to be answering text messages and be on my phone in front of my 2-year-old son when I could be prioritizing to me is spending quality time with him. So if you need me, call me. I'm unfortunately at a place just in this season of life with a little one having, unread text messages.
Right.
So try to turn off all of those notifications. It will really help.
I have most of mine turned off. Years ago,
Good.
when phones started becoming ubiquitous, everyone was having, and I heard this phrase when someone said, "Hey, you never answer your texts or you never answer your phone," and the person said, "The phone is for my convenience, not yours." So I love that phrase.
I love that.
Yeah, so it's for my convenience, not yours. And years
That's
ago,
true.
when my daughters taught me how to use texting, I was complaining to them that they never responded to my emails. So, uh, because they came from a divorced family, and so I was living 2 hours away, and I was emailing them, and they weren't responding. They said, "Dad, you need to text." I said, "Okay." So I would text them later. I text them and said, "Hey, I just sent you an email. You should read it." So sorry. Anyway, they kind of go off on the side here. So how can
That's
small
amazing.
business owners construct a day schedule that makes most of their talent and experience?
Yeah, it's a great question because there's a lot of responsibilities that are on your shoulders,
Right.
right? And you are spinning a lot of plates, and your attention is in a lot of different things, which is really unique to small business owners. So I think what is most helpful is to batch your schedule for sure. So what that means is grouping similar tasks together to complete them all at once rather than doing just like a little bit here, a little bit there, a little bit here. So, for an example, if you do a lot of marketing tasks and that consumes a lot of your time, and it's really just kind of broken up into different chunks whenever you can get to it throughout the week, instead try to group doing all of those marketing tasks maybe all in one day, all in one chunk of time for like, hey, from 12 to 3, I'm going to focus on marketing. And then that way, it really helps to eliminate context switching and really allows you to be in your zone of genius during that time. Because we may not realize it, but if you do a little bit here and a little bit there and a little bit there, there's so much context switching that happens with our brains. And it takes a lot of energy to like stop what you're currently doing and then be like, okay, put my marketing brain on. Let's think about that. And then, you get distracted by email or something else. So batch your schedule as much as possible. I think that's really important. One of the ways I personally do this that has helped me is I realized it took a lot of energy for me, like in the one on one coaching clients that I have. So, one of the things that I do is and I'm already like in that zone of thinking. So, it's like Wednesday mornings and Thursday mornings. I group back to back my coaching sessions. And then I'm already in the zone. I'm energized. I've already like I'm thinking in that way. And so that has really helped me. So that's just an example, but try to batch your schedule as much as possible.
Yeah. Years ago, I worked in a community where they had there's a movie theater, and the owner was very involved in our organization. And this is the first time I experienced or heard about batching, but I would call him. This is long before, not long before, but right before we started texting each other rather than talking in real life. Anyway, so I would call him, and his email message said something like, "Thanks for calling me. I'm not available right now. If you called before uh, 11 o'clock in the morning, I'll respond to you right after lunch. And if you've called after lunch but before 4 p.m., I'll respond to you the next day." So he really batched his response times into different sections of the day, and I just thought that was so brilliant. I try to follow that from time to time, but right now my
That
schedule.
is brilliant.
Yeah. So anyway, so I think that's what you're talking about, right?
Absolutely. And you can even batch things like your email. So I realized, so I got into a habit, a bad habit of just keeping my email open. And when an email came in, I saw the little notification, which is like different on my laptop than my phone. And I saw it and it kind of popped up. And I did one of those things where let me just see, let me just check it real quick, right? Well, that checking it real quick turned into 2 hours of email time and responding and, all of that kind of stuff. And I was like, this is not efficient. This just, the opportunity cost there was it completely pulled me away from what I was originally focused on. So what I do now with my email is I batch my email. I have my own rhythm where I check it in the morning for 45 minutes and I check it in the afternoon at the end of the day for 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I promise any other email that comes in between those times, it can wait until that next time when I'm checking email. It's really okay. And so
You're a hero. You are.
and then you know what I do? I actually close down my entire email program when I'm not checking it because I know myself well enough to know that I don't have the willpower to not just check it if I hear that ding. So I have to completely close it down.
Let's talk a little bit about automating, delegating, outsourcing tasks and activities. What are you doing or advising your clients on how to do and when to do that? It's kind of similar to the batching thing, but you know,
Yeah, definitely.
right?
I think when it comes down to like automating, delegating, and all of that, it comes down to first having that aha moment, that realization that you can't do everything. I know you're a superhero. I know everyone is, but we just can't do everything. And I don't think we're designed to. We're really people supposed to help people. So I think, and I know sometimes, we want to, or we may even also feel like we can do everything by just, maybe it's like, oh, I know I can just do it. So I'll just do it. I'll add that to my task and my list of responsibilities, right? But those little things really do add up. So I think having that aha moment of, okay, I can't do everything. I think I need help, right?
Right.
So I think it starts there, but it also comes with knowing just because you can do something doesn't mean you necessarily should.
Right.
So that's also something to think about. And again, I talked about opportunity cost before. I think it's that as well, having that aha moment and realizing that throughout your day of if I'm doing this little thing that I can do, or maybe really shouldn't, or, what is that taking me away from that only I can do? So starting to think about the opportunity costs in your day, as well, I think is important. So it's a lot of like the mindset first that comes usually with my coaching clients. Because most of us, entrepreneurs, small business owners, myself included, very much. I'm like, well, I can do it all. Don't worry. I can fit it in my schedule and I'll work late or, I'll do this or that.
Yeah.
So to
Right.
make it work. So that happens. So first it's the mindset change that typically happens. Um, one of the things that I do advise my clients to do is this exercise, excuse me, where they identify the things that only they can do in their business. So what we do is take the time throughout a week or two, like put dedicated time towards this. Put a piece of paper next to where you typically work or on your computer if you use like the notes app or something like that. But write down everything that you do in your business. So write it all down. Take 2 weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, just until you feel like you have that list fully completed. So as you're doing things, write down everything that you're doing in the business, right? Then the second step is to take that giant list that I know it will be, and then highlight the things that only they can do. So if you're a coach, those one-on-one coaching sessions are the things that only you can do, right? So highlight the things that only you can do. Maybe it's like the marketing tasks, or maybe it's the finances, or whatever that looks like in your business. Just highlight things that only you can truly do. Then we know from looking at that list, the third step is take a good look at that list, and anything that is not highlighted can be delegated to somebody else. It just really can. So for an example of what I mean by the things that only you can do, is that if you are a coach, like I mentioned, and you have a bunch of one-on-one coaching sessions with your clients, that is something that only you can do You can't delegate that to an executive assistant or another team member or something like that, right? Clients will be really not happy if you delegate those one-on-one coaching sessions that they're paying for to somebody else. Like, so that's something only you can do. So that's kind of what I mean by that. But that's the exercise we typically go through, and it really helps them to realize what is delegatable in the business and what is not. Like, what do you really have to shoulder?
Is there like any technology that you would recommend? Maybe that's a whole other call. I don't know. But is there anything just right off the top that you use, for example, uh, as technology to do that kind of thing?
Yeah, so there are, when it comes to automation, there's a lot of automation tools out there. My absolute favorite is Zapier. And so what that allows you to do is it allows you to take something and to say, if this happens, so if I get an email with an attachment, for example, of a file, automatically file that in this folder in my Google Drive. So if this happens, make that happen. And that's really using our tech tools. But
Yeah,
Zapier is an amazing tool to do that. I have
I've
it do a
seen
lot of things.
that, and I may have downloaded it or something. I was afraid to use it because I thought I would lose something, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but it's apparently a lot of people do use it, and I guess it's not that hard, huh?
No, it's really not that hard. They do walk you through like, hey, what tool are you using? You know, you can put in your different tools and it can give you examples of how it can be used as well. So that's really fun because sometimes you're like, I don't know, how can I benefit from this tool? So it will give you examples if you tell it which tools you use. So that's really fun.
Got it.
Um, I love Zapier. It can
Yeah.
do a lot as well. And then a lot of tools that you may use, whether it's a project management system or something, they may have automation built in that you just may not know about. So
Right.
also checking those out because if you can use the tool itself, that's great.
I think I've tried them all, Notion, Slack, you name it, and I keep going back to like one or two things that I tend to use,
Yeah.
including Evernote, which I use all the time.
Yeah.
So I've been around a lot of small businesses in my career, and I see a lot of them being busy,
Hmm.
which leaves them little room to do marketing, promotion, and most importantly, innovating, in their own business. There's a older book, I think maybe some entrepreneurs have read it, called The E-Myth, which is about a pie baker who gets so busy baking pies that they forget that they have a business to grow. So what advice can you give about taking time to nurture the business versus doing the business?
Gosh, I'm so glad you brought this up. This is every small business owner, right?
Uh,
Because it's really easy to get involved in the doing rather than the big picture thinking and really thinking about the business. So I'm really glad you brought this up. I think it's extremely important to dedicate some time to having what I call our CEO days. That's just like a term that I like to use. But so dedicating time for CEO days. This is where you are working on the business on those days, like truly dedicate a day, a full day if you can of your work week, whatever that looks like for you, to work on the business, not in it. And there's a very big difference, like you mentioned, of working in the business versus on the business. So you have your CEO day. This allows you the time, the capacity, and the bandwidth to truly focus on those things that are the bigger picture rather than being in the busyness of being that, baker of actually making and baking. So those pies. So, I mean, what you could do is you could delegate the making and the baking and the doing to somebody else while you are focused on the CEO day of working like on the business. So that's something I do. I take every Monday personally as a CEO day. And that's not like I go to the spa or anything. It's really like I'm focused on how can I make this better? How can I like do this? How can we serve people better? What does that look like? We talk about marketing, writing those, email newsletters and all of that kind of stuff, writing the blog posts, which is for me, um, brings a lot of traction. And so that's something that
yeah,
to me it's working on the business is like building content in there. So that I think is extremely important to do.
that's kind of like the Eisenhower matrix. Are you familiar with that?
Yes. Oh, I'm
Yeah,
obsessed with the Eisenhower matrix.
yeah. No, I think more people need to just look at that. I mean, just by looking
Mhm.
at it without filling in things, you can kind of find time for yourself. Speaking of yourself, a lot of talk these days about self care. You can define it in a lot of different ways. Um, and I think that a lot of small business owners kind of forget about that, and they're warriors. They think that doing a
It's
lot,
go, go, do, 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 do. Yeah.
yeah, constantly doing is better, is how they're serving themselves and maybe their
Hmm.
family. But I would have to disagree with that a little bit. Maybe you do too, based on what I'm hearing. You know,
Hmm.
talk to us a little bit about what self care and how important that is to a small business owner.
Absolutely. So
Even
I
from
kind of
experience
relate.
clients, you know,
Yeah, so I kind of relate it to, how when you're on an airplane and they tell you, to put your mask on for yourself first rather than even your child. Don't put
right?
because you can't. Like if you put a mask on your child or the person next to you first and then you pass out, well, that's not very helpful, right? So I kind of relate it to that when it comes to self-care and putting rest in place for yourself. It may not feel natural, like in the moment. It
Yeah,
may
it goes
not.
against
And it
instinct,
does. It totally goes like against the grain of like, no, I gotta like keep going and I gotta hustle and I gotta work hard and I gotta do and I gotta serve, right? Well, you have to take a moment to I wouldn't yes, to take a moment to take care of yourself because if you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to get burnt out and you're not going to be able to serve and help people in the way that you truly want to. So I call this, I'm big on processes. So I call this putting like a rest and a self care process in place for yourself. And I think it first comes down to defining what rest and self care even means to you. You
right?
know, is it a massage? Is it a spa day? Is it a vacation? Is it just a day to yourself just to be and not to work, right? Just to be and do whatever you'd like and whatever comes up that day. You want to go get brunch? You go get brunch.
Day
Whatever
drinking
that
runs
looks.
good.
Yes, that comes up a lot. Like
You don't want
whatever.
to use that to medicate yourself. I just threw that out. 'Cause,
Yeah. So
it's 5 o'clock somewhere, right?
absolutely. First, determine, what rest and self care means and it looks like to you. What does that really mean? So, first, do that. After you've like defined what self care truly looks like to you, it doesn't have to be extravagant, like we talked about. It's doing whatever that means for you, but determine how often you want to do those things, and really determine like, hey, when do I feel the most burnt out? Is it around the holidays? Is it during the summer? Is it the beginning of the year? Kind of think about when do I typically feel like I'm throwing in the towel? I'm done, whether and think about that frequency. So determine how often you want to do those things in your self-care process, whether that's something you do weekly. Is it something you do monthly, quarterly, is it seasonally? What does that look like? So
And do you
say,
recommend actually putting it in your calendar, scheduling it?
oh my stars, yes. So, for example, say like rest and self care looks like to you getting a massage, a quarterly massage. The first thing you should do, go ahead and make that appointment, that first appointment. Just make the first appointment, schedule it, and put it on your calendar. You are going to that massage. Even if the time comes and you're like, I'm doing okay, like it's okay. Like, let me just push it off another 3 months. No, no, no. Go to that massage. Go to the massage. After the massage, then you make your next appointment for the next quarterly massage. And you may not in the moment be like, oh, I need this. But I bet when it comes up on your calendar, you're going to be really looking forward to it. So go ahead and schedule it. Go ahead and do that. I will say one of the things that I have learned about myself that I do is at the beginning of every year, I just feel with the holidays and everything, I get to the end of the year and I'm like, whoa, I'm done, And so one of the things that I do at the beginning of every year, within the first few weeks of January, as I take a beach trip with my family, because we live in the mountains and it's super cold in January. So we take a beach trip. It's like after the holidays, it's after the hustle and bustle, and it's just like, whew. So it's a time for it's purely vacation, a week at the beach to rest, to recharge and reflect on the past year. And then what do we want to be different about this year? So that has been really helpful for me. And I schedule it like in a summer for like the next January. So even though I'm like, no, it'll be fine. Let's just save that money. I'm so glad it's there when it comes.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's good. You know, we want our business people in C7 to be watching this. So, of course, they have other priorities. So we're going to kind of end this a little bit. And I guess my final question is like, what final advice would you give to entrepreneurs and business owners regarding time management and those surrounding issues?
I think the biggest thing is really putting a rhythm in place for your schedule and your days, like we talked about with the batching. Do this from two different perspectives as well. From a personal perspective, what does that look like for you? A rhythm to your days on a personal note. And then from your business perspective as well. You know, when are you batching? When are you doing that? Putting a rhythm in place for your schedule, your calendar, and your days is really the most helpful. I think that is really key. And I think that will help a lot of it's kind of like a domino effect once you put that rhythm in place.
Oh, that's great advice. Thank you so much. And thank
Yeah.
you for taking your time from your busy schedule to
Yeah.
be here and to talk to the C7 small business participants and mentors on time management, which is the topic for the month. So, if someone wants to read more about you or understand more about what you do, how would they find you?
Sure. Yeah. I would love that. You can go to chelseabrinkley.com, and
Okay.
everything is there. You know, what there's like a contact form, there's like the services that we provide. I also do a lot of like one on one operations coaching. So that's there too. So if you ever wanted to reach out, there's all of my information is on my
Okay.
website.
Very good. Well, thank you so much, Chelsea. I really
Yeah.
appreciate it. It feels like I already knew you, but hey, now I really do. So I really appreciate
Yes.
taking the time to come on and talk to us about time management for entrepreneurs. So we hope people can be in touch with you and have an awesome day, week, and rest of the year.
Thank you so much, Martin. I really appreciate it. It's an
All right.
honor being a guest.
Thank you.